Do you sometimes think to yourself, everybody is so impatient now? There's so many coaching firings now. You may have run through 4 coaches that your career may not be as great today, although you were a great 3-point shooter, that Seattle's patience with you and the ability to develop was a huge part of your success over time.
Colin, that's great. That's great. That's a great way to put it. Because the first 2 years of my career were awful. I didn't have the right coach, which was Casey Jones. He was used to having the Boston Celtics, with the Larry Birds, the McHales and stuff like that. He was used to players just going out there. We were young. Me and Sean Kemp, we were young. We were trying to get it. We were trying to understand the game. We didn't know it. We went against Michael Jordan, Isaiah Thomas, all them type of guys who were already veterans. And we were coming in there brash, young kids that didn't know it. And we didn't know how to play. So they took time. And then the athletes who were owning the team at the time did a great job with us. They asked us, what do we need? We needed a change. And if we got a change when we got George Karl and Tim Gergerich, who came from UNLV, which is like a dad to me. And when he took me in, he took me back to summer leagues. In the summer leagues when they were in Utah, when they were in LA at Loyola Marymount. And he made us play in our third year in pros. In the third year of pros. I remember the time he took me into his hotel room. He had 2 TVs there. He had one with the Oregon State, where I played when I was playing Oregon State, and one when I was playing with Seattle before he got there. He made me watch both of them. It almost made me cry to see me play as a Sonic. I wanted to quit basketball. But then when I looked at my sting at Oregon State, I said, that's Gary Payton. And he said, that's all I wanted you to say, because we're going to throw this TV away, and this is how you're going to play from now on at Seattle. And that's what I started doing. And then everything took a change, and it went from there. And to develop a player is better to me than anything to get the potential out of it, because they might not be ready. Because I look at it in college now, Colin, and I see a lot of players that come out of the Dukes, the North Carolinas. They're not ready, and they don't last in the NBA that long. And all of a sudden, you don't give them that chance, and then all of a sudden they get lost. And then there were guys that we was hoping that was going to be that way, but they weren't. You can't have a lot of Zion Williams. You can't. There's not a lot of them out there. They only come once every 10 years. So we got to develop players, and I'm glad that I went through that process to get developed like that, stayed in school for 4 years, and then became the basketball player I did in the pros.
Gary, to be a great defensive player, it's like in baseball, to be a great hitter, you have to watch a lot of tape. Tony Gwynn, the legendary guy, he would watch tape 3 and 4 hours a day. To be a great defensive player, I would imagine, like offensively, you have certain gifts. You're quick. You know what I mean? You're a nimble athlete. You're twitchy. To be a good offensive player, you were strong. But to be a great defensive player, which you were, is effort. Did you watch a lot of tape like a poker player? Did you look for tells? Here's a guy's weak hand. Here's where he can't shoot. Tell me a little bit about when you had to guard an Isaiah or a Michael, an Iverson. How much tape did you watch?
You know what, Colin? That was good. That was good, because when I first play somebody, I'll watch a film on him. I will watch the best game he had during that time of where we were playing. If during the season, I didn't want a game that he was average. I wanted a game that he was scoring where he scored the most that he ever scored. He scored because he was in a rhythm and he was doing the things that he do all the time. I wanted to know what spots he were really good at, what spots he wasn't good at, and what he was struggling in, and what was he great. And I would watch that game, and that's the only game I would have to watch, because I would play him again, and when the first time I play him, I'll pace him for about a good 6 minutes, and then I'll figure out what he's doing. Then I'll start going to the bench, and I start telling him I'm about to get him. I'm about to get him on this, and I'm going to stop him this way because I know he can't do this. So when I do it and I turn him, you guys, or Nate, you be right there, Nate, because he's going to get frustrated because we're going to start ripping him. So then when I get him frustrated, I'll get him out of his game because he's going to be mad, and then I'm going to start talking to him, and then he's going to pay attention to me. So I would always do that to all the players. I would watch them one time, and then when I started playing them, then I started understanding, because you're not going to change your game during the season. I don't care what nobody says. You do not go in the gym and work at something else that you've done because you're so great at what you've already done that you're going to keep continuing to do it. And it's not going to change during the season. So I know by the time I get you in another month or so, you're not going to change anything, because the players that you played before that, they're not going to change and stop you. So you're going to still continue to think that you can do that. But with me, I'm the defensive player. I'm going to stop you because I'm going to watch you.
Who was an underrated point guard that I would be surprised that gave you a little trouble, awkward, different game, length, twitchy, a guy that was a little underrated that maybe didn't make the all-star teams, but was a little tougher than people think?
Rod Strickland, by far, was a great point guard. Before Tony Parker became that point guard who did everything in the paint, you guys go back and look at Rod Strickland numbers. He was doing that before Tony Parker. He was getting to the paint whenever he felt like it and scoring. He was very strong. He was really crafty. And you thought about you can do things to him, but you couldn't. And you couldn't guard him like that. And I thought that he was so underrated and didn't make an all-star team, but he was good. People wasn't really aware. And right here now in my office, I got Rod Strickland's jersey up because I respect him that much and got it signed, right, by John Stockton. So these guys, I just think Rod Strickland was very underrated and a very good point guard that I really didn't like to guard.
You know, it's interesting in today's game. You're a classic. You come into the league, you have things to work on, you're coachable, and you become a star. Then there's the opposite of you, which is Ben Simmons, who is 6'11", comes into the league almost as a prodigy, and appears to be indifferent about improving his game. He can't shoot a free throw. You ended up being a very good scorer. But when I think of Gary Payton, I don't think, oh, he's Steph Curry, he's a natural shooter. You worked on it. Is Ben Simmons, is he hopeless? Can you change a shot? Did you ever play with a guy that literally first couple of years in the league, you're like, dude can't hit a free throw, and became a great shooter? Is some of shooting, Gary, just natural? Some guys have a rhythm and some guys just naturally don't.
Yeah, there it is right there, Colin. Some of us have a rhythm and some of us don't. I think what Ben Simmons' problem is that he's so good and he does stuff so well and nobody stops him. He doesn't think that he has to change or he has to shoot that shot because he knows he can get to the basket. As you remember when he missed the free throws and they was hacking him and stuff like that, then he came back in game 3 and dominated that. You remember he had dunks, he had 20-some points, he was very confident. His confidence was here. But when it gets down to here, he starts to be that player that he listens to everything. I think basketball is all about confidence. As you said, Colin, I didn't come in the league as a great shooter. They said that was my knock on me being drafted. Can he shoot? But what I did was I started working at it with Coach Gerg, and all of a sudden, when I shot it, I believed it was going in, and I did it. But what I became was a scorer, not a shooter. I'm not a shooter. I'm a scorer. All I had to do was put that orange basketball between that orange rim, and people will understand what's going on. We have to stop him from doing that. And then when they start trying to do that, I put my game out, hit a couple of shots and hit the threes. Now you're going to pull up on me, and then my game is going to the bucket and being quick. And that's all I had to do. But with Ben is, he is at to work on his free throw shooting. That's it. Being a point guard, I get you have to at least shoot 75% or above to make them be respectful. I think that is disrespectful to play the shack a hack against him. And they think about it, you got to take him out the game, and he's one of your stars. I think he should take that personal, and I think he should go and work on it and punish people every time they do that. Punish them and go over to the bench and look at them when you do that and say, keep following me because I'm going to keep getting more points.
Gary, when you played in the Pacific Northwest, we didn't even talk about stuff like this, but I never thought the geography hindered the Sonics. You guys got free agents. You made trades. People like playing in Seattle. With Dame Lillard, Portland's a smaller market. It is now. There's no Sonics or Vancouver. It's geographically sort of isolated. So I understand loyalty, But I also get in certain markets, Zion may have to leave New Orleans to really be, a face of the league player. You never left Seattle until the end. And then it gets down to it. When you were great, Seattle paid you. It was great. Then you get to the end and, Seattle may not feel they want to pay you. Let's go to when you left, because Dame Lillard has a decision to make. Why did you leave Seattle? Was it more about management saying, all right, we just can't, you're not worth what we think you're worth anymore? Or would you have stayed if they'd have upped the ante?
If they would have paid me, I would have stayed. But it was about new management, new ownership, figuring that he's getting old. We don't need to pay him that money. Forget it. So that was disrespectful to me for what I've done for that franchise for all that long. And then you want to treat me like that. You could have gave me a 3/4 of the money and I would have took it to stay in Seattle, because that's my hometown. That's the second hometown. I'm from Oakland, California, but Seattle is my other hometown. I would have took that. But it was a disrespectful thing to not give me my money when I asked for it, when I never ask for money. I played my first contract out, 7 years. Then I went to my next 6 years and played that one out, but you didn't want to give it to me. You were done with it. You wanted to go another market, so I left. It's a different era, Colin, nowadays with Dame. Dame is from where I'm from. We built from a same cloth. I think we just so loyal that when a team drafts us, we want to stay there and be that team, that player. We want to be that team player. We give you all the options. You treat me right, you get players around me, we're fine. But then when it comes to a point where people are starting to talk about super teams, team up with this guy, team up with that one. And then, money is a big part of this thing right now. If you can go to New York and make 3 times as much as you can in Portland, why not go? If you can get another superstar to come with you, why not go? I just don't think Damian Lillard is like that. I think he likes to be by himself. He wants to build a championship team and build it. He did it when he left Oakland, when Weber State was the only team to recruit him out of high school, the first one. Then when he starts having great senior year, everybody wanted to recruit him. And what was the first thing that came out of his mouth? I'm loyal. They were the first ones to look at me and stay with me and believe in me. So I'm going to stay with Weber State, and I'm going to Weber State. That's it. Fine. And he stayed there for 3-4 years. So this is what he's selling. And that's my young guy. Love him to death. Talked to him the other day. And it's just that that's what he wants. He wants Portland to build a team and they go and win it and prove that they can win it, instead of having 4 or 5 guys together. We go to work out. Oh, I'm going to play with you in 2 years. You do that. Let's go to your hometown. It's just not like that.
How would you defend, as a 9-time all-defensive team guy, how would you defend Dame?
That's hard, because with him and Steph Curry, the way they shoot the ball, and if they can dribble two steps over the half court and pull up, and it's a rhythm shot, it's very hard. And then we're coming off picks. And big men nowadays are not stepping, they're not stepping up and hedging them out and making them go this way so I can recover. They don't get through, and I get held in the pitch, and I come around, and once they get a little light, he's going to fire it, he's going to shoot it. To me nowadays, what I would do with them, when I can't touch them and I can't hit them, I would press Dame 94 feet. I would have to just turn it. And then when I try to get the ball out of his hand, I would deny him and make it work. Once you make players like that work, and get tired, some of them start to fade away and say, okay, I'm getting tired. I don't want to work as hard as I got to get the ball. And they don't do what we used to do, Colin. Coaches don't call plays like set 2 picks for him. Give me 2 big men in there so he can get off. They don't do that anymore. All they're going to do is set 1 pick, switch, and that's it. They're not going to work no more. So that's what players got to do to these type of players, because they can score the basketball so well.
Gary, it's interesting. In your era, you were very effective. So was Jordan, hand check. You could push and direct players. Now it's eliminated. So I'm going to throw a theory at you. More guards are getting hurt now as they've eliminated the hand check. And here's my theory. When there was a hand check, you could mostly keep a guard out of the paint. Now they all get past, you can't stay in front of any of these guys. They often go in the paint and bigger guys land on them, hit them. So we think the hand check was physical, eliminated. It actually protected guards. You couldn't get past Gary Payton. You couldn't get past Jordan. So you more often settled for a jumper, which, by the way, you're not against the forest. You're not playing against the trees. I have argued that if you initiate the hand check again, it's safer for guards. You'll have less injuries. Your thoughts?
Because that is very true, because you can think about it. When they go in there now, all these guards are falling. And then when they fall into stuff. They start hitting things. They start hitting the backboard. They're hitting the ground. And that's taking a toll on their body. Then, golly, you got to understand, these guys don't work out like we used to work out. We used to stay in the gym a long time, get a lot of physical therapy, a lot of weights in. We wouldn't probably leave the gym for 5 and 6 hours. Nowadays, 2 hours, they're gone. They're out. It's a rule now that you can't even stay in there and practice them for 2 hours. You got preseason, you got training camp for 2 days. That's it. You don't have double days, nothing. You don't work on your body, getting stronger, nothing. So a lot of injuries are occurring. If you do have the hand check in and don't get in front of them, yes, they're selling out, but they're going to stay healthy. They're not going to keep going in there and pounding. Let me give you an example. When I went to Miami Heat, Dwayne Wade was on my team. Dwayne Wade would get to the bucket all the time because you couldn't hand check him or nothing. Where was he at all the time? Falling. After we get in after the game, I would always see him in the training room. He was iced up, and I was like, "Man, you okay?" "Man, OG, I'm hurt. I said, "Dwayne, you have to stay off the floor. That floor doesn't move, and it's hard. You gotta stay off that floor. It don't move." So he was like, "OJ, you right." So I said, "You guys keep going in there, and them trees are trying to beat you down, and everybody is trying to get in, and everybody's athletic now, and they're jumping, they're hitting you, and you coming down wrong." We see, Colin, every time one of these guards jump, they either twisting their ankle, their knee is hurt. You see how Murray went from Denver, went to the bucket, strong, pounding, and tears his leg up. You see Mitchell do the same thing on his leg. He had to leave the other day because he twisted the same ankle. So we have to understand that this game is not as physical as we were, because we had to do that, and we had to be in that physical shape, but they're not like that anymore. So it's a lot of injuries that are occurring.
You know, it's funny. We have since found out that Michael Jordan was not always the greatest teammate. Scottie Pippen's got a new book out. When Michael took a shot at you, and it was just kind of Michael's confidence. That's how he talks. You didn't fire back. It didn't seem to penetrate. I don't know. I'm sure people have asked you, did it piss you off, or did you just come to terms with, that's just Michael. That's just who he is. That's how he talks.
Colin, I didn't care about that, because I tell everybody now, and now I've been commenting on it. If he didn't say that, I wouldn't respect him. I wouldn't respect him at all. I wouldn't even look at him anymore, because he's a competitor like me. I look forward to guarding him. You know what I'm saying? He laughed. I would have laughed the same thing, because I don't think he could guard me. So if he would have did that, I would have been like, please. You know what I'm saying? So it's a respect thing. I think Michael Jordan is great. You know what I'm saying? I love playing against him. But it's his show. He directed that. Why would he say something to make him look like a fool? So I'm good. I'm good with it. I don't care about that. We can't bring the past back. I can't bring 1996 back. I wish that we would have did things different, and I would have guarded him earlier, because we would have showed it. But as we all know, they won it. It is what it is. But I would have laughed too. You know what I'm saying? Because it is what it is. I'm still laughing, because I know when he was guarding me, he couldn't guard me either.